Fantastic. Welcome. How many of you remember the Bobby McFerrin song, Don't Worry, Be Happy? Do you remember that song? Some people remember. Yeah. Do you know where he got the Don't Worry, Be Happy from? I think he got it from Meher Baba, who was considered to be an avatar, and that was one of his important messages. Don't worry, be happy. Uh, and I wonder uh, how how well would you say you have succeeded in that, not worrying and being happy? I'm like on a scale from 0 to 10, how would you rate yourself in terms of not worrying and being happy? That's amazing. We got a 10, 10 out of 10. Only one, so far, only one 10 out of 10. It's not looking too great overall. So, with the exception of the one person here who never worries and is always happy, um, the rest of us sometimes we worry and we're not happy. And I wonder, uh, why do you suppose? I mean, I'm curious. Take a look, if you will, and and why do you let yourself do that? I mean, here's what I'm. So somebody says, I think self-harm is useful sometimes. Somebody else says attempt to control. Okay, interesting answers. Thank you. So take a look right now and notice what good comes from worrying. And even if you think you already know the answer to that, just take a look right now. Be if you're willing, actually investigate right now. Find out, maybe you'll discover something new. Maybe you'll discover something that could be valuable. So I'm just going to open up the chat here so I can see these because these are some really great responses here. Um, so I challenge you, really investigate. Some of you say that you perceive there might be some positive benefit. Some of you have proposed some potentially positive benefits that you perceive. Uh, so one person says awareness. So does worry give awareness? Really look. Like everybody here, let's investigate for ourselves. Does worry yield awareness? I don't think that it does. You don't have to take my word for it. You're welcome to disagree. But I don't find that worry produces awareness. In fact, I would say that worry is happening to some degree, we could say, in the absence of adequate awareness. Because if you really were adequately aware, I mean, check it out right now. Allow yourself, give all of yourself fully to awareness, not to the content. Don't try to grab onto any content. Don't try to understand anything. Don't try to figure anything out. Don't try to fix anything, but just fully give yourself to awareness now. Do you perhaps notice that awareness itself is just completely open? Does is awareness can awareness actually can there be any worry when there's only awareness? If you're fully surrendered to awareness, can there actually be any worry? Notice what worry actually consists of. I mean, for there to be worry, there has to be some kind of reference point for who you think you are, right? Because the worry pertains to you somehow. It has to be you involved in worry. And some people will say, "Oh, no, 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 I don't worry about myself. I worry about others." Yes, but relative to you, right? It's always relative to you. There's no worry without you. You is a prerequisite for worry. Test it out. If there if there's no you, no worry. Doesn't matter what the rest of it is. I mean, it could be the most horrific things. But if there's no you, then there's no worry. The worry is only when there's you. And then because you're worried about you. You're worried about what it's going to mean for you. You're worried about how this is going to impact you. Even if it's about other people, you're worried about how you're going to feel. Right? And it's like, oh, I'm really worried about other people. Yes, but you're worried about how you're going to feel when all those terrible things happen to all those other people, right? I mean, it's like you're worried about you. So no you, no worry. So awareness, pure awareness doesn't have a you. There's no you in that. There's no reference point. There's nothing that's singled out and you say, I stake my flag here. This is what I am. It's just pure openness, just openness. Doesn't belong to anybody. So worry, I propose. Again, you're welcome to disagree, but just check it out and see if maybe you can notice what I'm pointing out. That worry cannot happen when there is adequate awareness. If there's only awareness, there's no worry. So I would say that no amount of worry can give awareness. Now, worry might end in awareness, right? I mean, there might be like you could worry, 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 worry until finally you just give it up and then there's just awareness. But that doesn't mean that worry produced awareness. I would say that worry ends with adequate awareness. Worry begins when instead of awareness, there's me, 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 me. So that's my thought about that one. Somebody says a false sense of control. Yeah, I would say absolutely false. Right? I mean, it's totally false, isn't it? I mean, like So you can worry, 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 and never gives you control. In fact, notice what it does to you. When you say it makes you actually like more and more out of control, you're just like spinning, spiraling. It's like just a big disaster. The more you do it, the more you if you believe that somehow it's going to give you control, then the more you do it, the more you're going to be compelled to worry, right? Because you're going to feel like, oh no, I'm getting more out of control. I'm feeling really anxious now. I need to do some more worrying so that I can I'll get it all under control. I know about these things because I've done a lot of worrying in my life. I am I am I am I don't want to say I'm the world's greatest worrier, but I'd say I'm definitely an expert. More than 10,000 hours. Way more than 10,000 hours. There's a point to all this, by the way. I think. We'll see if we can get there. Uh, Somebody says nothing, no benefit, but difficult to control. Yeah, it's like mud wrestling with a pig. You've heard me say this one before. This is a familiar one to you. Mud wrestling with a pig. You know the punchline to mud wrestling with a pig. After a while, you learn that he likes it, right? If you're mud wrestling with a pig, pigs like mud wrestling. You don't like mud wrestling, but the pig likes it, right? So if it's so difficult to control, yeah, it's impossible to control. And it's kind of what I was talking about before. You worry because you think that the worry is going to give you control. And then the more you worry, the more out of control you feel. So therefore, you think, I need to worry more. I'm compelled to worry more. And that's what I'm saying. It's like mud wrestling with a pig because the more you do it, the muddier you get. And you're thinking that you're going to defeat it somehow, but you're not defeating it. You're giving it exactly what it wants. The more you worry, the more you're giving that entity of worry what it wants. It just wants more and more of that energy. It wants you to worry because that's the only way it exists. It doesn't exist apart from you giving it energy, apart from you creating it. You create it, you sustain it, and it's like all created things. It wants to survive. Just this slight tangent here. I mean, isn't that an interesting thing that all things have this desire to survive? They doesn't matter. Like I mean, you think about some of you ever watched any of those nature documentaries where they show like these animals living in these extreme conditions. Now I know, I shouldn't project onto them and anthropomorphize and all of that, but I can't help it. I look at them and I'm like, holy cow, that is cold and miserable. I mean, it's just they're like, oh my goodness. But they have a desire to survive. Everyone wants to survive. And so all entities want to survive. So you create worry, you create the entity of worry, and of course it wants to survive. It's like give me more energy. I need to survive. Keep feeding me. So if you think that you need to control it, you've already lost. If you think you need to control worry, you've already lost because that's the game. The game is feed it, feed it, try to control it, feed it. Oh no, I can't control it. You're feeding it, right? It's like, give me more, give me more, give me more. Try to control me. Oh man. So somebody says it's useful because I get feedback from life that it isn't efficient. Okay, fair enough. So worry gives you feedback that worry is inefficient, right? Worry gives you feedback that worry sucks. Yeah. I mean, I would say that's more life than it is worry. Like that's one of the features of life is that life gives you feedback like that. But the problem is that we fail to understand the message, right? So the message is like it's basically just drop it, right? I mean, that's the message. It's like you touch a hot stove, what is the message? Stop touching it, right? That's the message. Most people Most people get that with the hot stove. With worry, not so much, right? I mean, with worry, the message should be loud and clear, stop it, right? Drop it, leave it. But for whatever reason, weird, whatever, I don't know why exactly. I could analyze it. I'm not going to try to do that right now, but it's we get short circuited or something. So we get the feedback. The feedback is stop it. And what do? We're like, oh, I got to do more of it. That the feedback, it should be like the hot stove. Worry instantly, drop it. But instead, we say, ooh, I need to do more of that. Um, so somebody says there's a subconscious imagining that danger will increase if I stop worrying. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So so again, we think worry somehow is going to protect us. Oh, I need to worry so that I can be safe. I need to worry so I can get things under control. I need to worry but what we fail to understand is, and this is what I'm inviting us to all look at today. I can already anticipate the comments on YouTube. People are going to be brutal. God love them. Uh, so the so just notice though, because here's the point. Worry is ruining your life to the degree that you allow it. So that's why I'm pointing this out. That's why I'm inviting this investigation so that we can really truly see that we have a choice. And most of us, and you've heard me say this before, because it's kind of like one of the central points that I have to share that I think is really valuable, that I think very, very few people talk about, is that you are a creative being. You are creating your experience. But the world, society teaches you the opposite. Society teaches you that you are a victim. Society teaches you that you are not a creator, you are a consumer and a reactor. And so we fail to investigate things that we're doing to ourselves to hurt ourselves. And then we wonder, when will it change? When will it change? Maybe it will change when the administration changes. Maybe it will change when the economy changes. Maybe it will change when, the welfare system changes. Maybe it will change when the weather changes. Maybe it will change when my spouse changes. We're like, come on. We think something out there is going to change because that's what society has taught us. That's why I think this is such an important point because I don't know of that many people who point this out. And I think it's so empowering. I think it's so central to living a good life is to realize the uh, boundless extent of your power, your creative power. And and people want to they they want to they want to create beyond their skill level, right? They say, okay, they hear a law of attraction talk or they read a book or something and they say, oh, I want to create a mansion. I want to create $1 billion. I want to create all these things for myself. And you gotta walk before you run because mixing and my metaphors all over the place here, but it's kind of the way that most people are trying to go about their lives is like trying to drive a car with one foot on the accelerator and the other foot on the brakes. So on the one hand, people do the affirmations and they've got, they've got the the subliminals and all the rest of it. And they're doing on the vision boards and all the things. That's like the foot on the accelerator, but they fail to recognize that the rest of the time, 99.999% of their energy is the foot on the brake, which is I'm a victim. I'm a victim. I am powerless. I need everything around me to change before I can have what I need and want. I need other people to change before I can have what I need and want. Isn't it true? This is what society teaches us. And and you're really not likely to change that just by reciting some affirmations. Now, I'm not trying to poo-poo the affirmations. I'm just trying to put it in context. That's why I think that this message is so important to realize the extent of your creative power, how deep it goes, how how you are the creator of your experience without exception, all of it. Most people are focused on the outer and they fail to put sufficient attention on the inner, but the inner is what creates the outer. So people are focused on, I need the outer to change. I need these conditions to change. I need these things to appear in my life. And they're not actually noticing how they're creating their experience from the inside. So worry is one of those things that if you're to the extent that you are indulging in it, you're sabotaging your life. You're sabotaging your positive intentions because if you doesn't matter, you do 10,000 mechanical affirmations in a day. How I don't know how long it takes. It depends on how long the affirmation is, I guess. But like let's say you can do that in an hour or two or three. So you take 4 hours every day on your mechanical affirmations and whatever you do. Well, even at 4 hours, that leaves you with 20 more hours in the day. And if you're spending that time worrying or any of the other things, resenting, feeling guilty, shameful, blaming, all the rest of that kind of stuff, then what do you expect? Now, I know this is, like I say, it's a rare message, so most people haven't thought about it. Most people, I know this, I mean, I don't know about most people. The people I hear from, oftentimes, what I hear from them is they say, well, I don't know what else I could do. I've done everything. I've done everything. And they list off all the things they've done. It's like, okay, I hear you. I understand. You've invested a couple hours every day for the last year. I hear that is frustrating to you that you're not yet getting the results that you imagined you would be having at this time, because you got the promises, you read the book, you listened to the video, and you were expecting that if you just did the thing for an hour a day after a month or two at most, you'd be rolling in cash and you'd have the lovers left and right and all the rest of it. And you can't understand why you say, I've done everything. I've done everything. You sure have, but you don't even know most of what you've done because most of what you've done is the worrying, right? I mean, that's what I'm pointing out is you get exactly what you put in. No more and no less. Oh, I know that rubs people the wrong way. I know it does. I know people say, I've put so much in, but you haven't heard what I'm saying. Because what you're putting in is primarily unconscious, isn't it? Just notice. How much of the day are you actually consciously choosing where you're putting your attention, what you're doing, what you're thinking, what you're feeling? How much of the time? Not very much. So most of what you are doing is unconscious. And most of that is exactly what society has programmed you to do. It's no fault of your own. I'm not saying that it's your fault and you should feel bad about it or anything. I'm just pointing out that you have options. Isn't that good news? I think it's so cheery. I mean, I really do. I really do. I'm totally serious about that. I think it's the cheeriest message. Many people disagree, and they're entitled to disagree, but I think it's so wonderful. Uh, I know, people a lot of the time they think it's not cheery because instead they say, "Oh, but I feel overwhelmed." Before it was so simple. It was just all I needed to do was just, write my affirmations or listen to my subliminals or whatever. It was so simple. And if that had worked for you, then you wouldn't be here, right? I mean, I'm like the last stop. Nobody shows up here first. It's cheery, but it's not packaged in the conventionally cheerful way, right? I mean, it's so like I think it's so empowering. I think it's so wonderful. It's like you don't have to suffer. You don't have to wait for the world to change. You don't have to wait for other people to change. You don't have to wait for the conditions to change. You don't have to wait for circumstances. You could choose now. You could choose right in this instant, right now, right now. You really could. And people say, "What are you talking about? I'm choosing right now and it's not showing up." I'm like, "No, no, no, no. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying see because that's more of the worry. The worry, see, the worry gets very subtle. The worry can be so subtle. The worry can just be, I don't trust that it's here. I don't trust that I have what I need. I don't trust that it's going to be okay. Something still needs to change. That's the underlying belief. Something still needs to change. I'll be okay when the circumstances are such and such. And when I say you could choose right now, you could choose to be happy right now. Really, honestly, you could. You could. In fact, just choose happiness right now. It's the easiest thing. It doesn't get any easier than that. Why? Because that's what is natural to you. It's absolutely natural. You don't have to do anything for it. I'm not talking about the fake happiness. I'm not talking about conditional happiness. I'm not talking about let's, all sing and dance and jump and shout and that kind of happiness. I mean, that's fine if that happens. I'm not saying that it shouldn't, but I'm just saying that's a specific kind of experience that it does not have a monopoly on happiness. Happiness doesn't have to look like that. Happiness, real happiness, as I said, it's just natural to you. It's who you are. It's uncontrived. There's no condition for it. It's not just when you're smiling. It's not just when you are uh, having the sense that you got the thing that you thought you wanted. It's not that. It's so much easier than that. It's just by allowing yourself to be without making any unnecessary demands that you need to be a certain way, that life needs to be a certain way. You could choose that in an instant right now. It's so simple. It's just drop everything else for just a second, half a second. If that's too much, less than that, it's fine. It's just the smallest fraction of a second is sufficient. And just notice in that one instant, that's happiness. So easy. And then notice, what is it that seems to then get in the way? What is it that seems to interfere? Because this is where I mean, first of all, people argue with me because they say, well, I don't even know what you're talking about. There's no happiness. I didn't see it. I didn't notice it. I didn't feel it. There's no happiness here. But I'm going to pretend for a moment that all of you here are able to notice the happiness? And if you say that you can't, we can address that a little bit later. But let's just humor me. Just imagine for a moment that you can experience, notice, sense this happiness that's here without any condition, just for half a second. It doesn't have to be longer than that. Even less than half a second is fine. When you're not placing any demands on life, when you're not saying life has to be other than how it is, when you're not insisting that there's something wrong, just for this one instant, just this is what I'm referring to. This is happiness. Now, if you're able to accept and acknowledge that, then my question to you is, what seems to get in the way? What seems to be the problem then? Why does it seem so fickle? Why does it seem to vanish? Why is it that you don't seem to be able to stay here? I think this is a very, very important and useful investigation that almost nobody does. And most people will say, what do you, this is not important at all. This is so stupid. Get to the point already, Joey. When are you going to get to the important stuff? This is not important at all. This can't help me. But I think, honestly, this could help more than anything in all areas of your life. This could be something that could absolutely help everything. If you're willing to trust in it, if you're willing to actually give yourself to the investigation in a sincere way, I really honestly think that you could discover something so transformative, it would shock you. Because this really gets to the heart of what it is that I've been pointing out, which is that you are the creator of your experience. So just notice if you're able to recognize for half a second, and if you don't like the word happiness, fine, choose a different word. Call it peace, call it okayness, call it freedom, call it whatever you want to. I don't care. Call it nothing. But just notice there's, let's say, there's an absence of suffering if you're willing to acknowledge it for at least just this fraction of a second. So if you're able to notice that, then you've just demonstrated that you have the ability to choose that, right? You can choose that. You've just demonstrated your creative power. You can choose. You can choose it. You can choose it. Now, only for this brief moment, right? Only for a brief moment. So then that's why my next question is, well, what seems to interfere? What seems to lead to suffering? Why would you suffer again if you're able to stop the suffering, if you're able to experience that love, peace, freedom, happiness, joy, whatever you call it, if you're able to notice that and allow that and accept that and trust in that fully for just this one brief fraction of a second, why on earth would you again choose suffering? Now, most people, like I said, don't investigate this. And they assume that, oh, it's life doing it to them. It's life doing it to them. Life is causing this somehow. And they'll have various stories for that. They'll call it by different names, but it will be some aspect of life. They'll call it other people, they'll call it society, they'll call it trauma, they'll call it their nervous system, they'll call it the patriarchy, whatever. They're going to call it by various names. But they're not actually investigating and questioning in this way because they're not actually really acknowledging their actual power. They're giving their power away. There is nothing and no one who can compel you to suffer. It's a choice. And who could be making that choice other than you? Is there anybody who could be making that choice other than you? I don't think so. That's 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 my thought about it. Let's go through some of these others. So somebody says, by thinking about worst case scenarios, you can make yourself aware of what could happen, be at peace with that, and identify how you would respond. That's not the same as worrying. Yes, I agree. I definitely agree with you. I agree that there can be value potentially in that. Uh, I would call that acceptance. And I agree that it's not the same as worrying. But you say, but it can be a thin line. Yes. Yeah. Somebody says, worry keeps me from feeling. Yes. Great. Hmm. Yeah. Just if we stay involved in this mental looping, then it's like we can sort of numb ourselves. It's like by creating so much intensity, we can numb ourselves. So I think that's probably a common strategy. And I have never found that uh, I've ne I've let me flip that around and say I've always found that to be a dead end, and invariably have to back out of that dead end, right back through feeling. If there's feeling, then feel, then feel, just feel. I found myself there many times. Uh, Somebody says, "Well, if you put it that way, yeah, I have a way of putting it that way." Uh, Somebody says, if I give myself to awareness instead of worry, there's raw emotional pain. Yeah, that's similar, I think, to what the other person was saying about worrying as a strategy to avoid feeling. So there is uh, so notice that there's feeling, there's sensing, and notice that it's actually meaningless, does not have any inherent meaning. But we usually assign it some meaning really, really fast. So fast that we don't even notice that we're doing it. We just assume that the meaning that we've assigned is the truth of it, right? We'll say, I feel, and then whatever we feel, right? So in this case, raw emotional pain. So I feel raw emotional pain. So we so there's sensing occurring, and it's fundamentally meaningless, but then there's this meaning that's assigned. Oh, this is raw emotional pain. And raw emotional pain has a story that goes along with it, right? Raw emotional pain. I'm just going to go out on a limb and guess raw emotional pain is something that you don't like, right? The story is, oh, that's scary, that's bad, that's difficult, that's uncomfortable. I'd prefer to avoid that. So, but this happens so fast that we don't notice that we're giving that meaning. We think that that's what's happening. We think this is raw emotional pain. It's not raw emotional pain. That's the meaning that's been assigned to it. So, uh, that meaning then feeds into whatever follows. And if the habit is worry, then what will follow will be worry. Be because that meaning, if using this example, oh, this is raw emotional pain, and then the story, if the story is that's bad, that has to be avoided, then whatever strategies you are most familiar with will play out automatically, and that's probably going to involve worry. So I will propose, and you can test it out and see what you notice. But my proposal is that if you really give yourself to awareness, just find out what happens, even if it's just find out for just this brief moment, just the briefest of moments, just for a half a second or a half of a second or even less. If you just allow, surrender, give yourself completely to awareness just for this briefest moment, then what do you actually discover here in just in this briefest moment? Is it actually raw emotional pain? Or does raw emotional pain actually come afterward? Now, I'm not talking about the sensing. I'm talking about the story. Because before you label it, before you attach a story to it, what can you say about it? Now, this seems really dangerous. I get it. This is why I say, I'm last stop for people because you, you no, it's a very rare individual who's going to be attracted to this kind of message right away, right? Because I'm saying, just like put yourself right in the danger zone. The last place you want to be, the place you are trying to avoid desperately, which is, by the way, right here, which is you, which is inescapable. But let's set that aside for the moment, because this is what most of everything else out there is saying. You can do it. You can avoid yourself. You can avoid here and now. You can avoid what's happening. Just try harder. Just try this technique. And so it's only after you've already gone through and endured all of that suffering, and you finally are like, that is not working. Then what it is that I'm proposing starts to be a little bit more palatable, only marginally, but just enough that then maybe you're willing to investigate it. And I'm trying to make it as soft and gentle as possible. I'm saying just for just the briefest moment. I haven't brought up this in a long time. I'll try this out and see if this works. Uh, did you ever, this might be just a Midwestern American male kind of thing, but maybe you've had the experience of riding a bicycle and taking your hands off of the handlebars. Have you ever done that? Okay. I see some people from other places in the world and other genders who are saying yes. Okay, great. So, so if you've had that experience, then when you first were doing it, did you take your hands off the handlebars for like a minute at a time? Of course not. I mean, unless you ended up with gravel all over your knees and everything. But uh most of us sensibly, we just for a fraction of a second, you just kind of just the tiniest little bit, you take your hands, not even, you don't even take them completely off, right? You just loosen the grip a little bit. That's all I'm saying. Can you notice how you're gripping tightly to this uh notion of I've got to control, I've got to figure it out, I've got to fix, I've got to defend, I've got to protect, I've got to, and just loosen the grip for just the briefest moment. And just notice as you do that, what is here? What do you find? And maybe you have to repeat it. many times to start to get some familiarity and you start to notice, oh, isn't this interesting? I didn't die yet. It hasn't been the catastrophic end of the world just yet. Still, still here. Still, everything's okay. The sun is still shining. Like life is still happening. Isn't that interesting? Even though I don't have this iron grip, life goes on. So that's it, just to notice, oh, isn't that interesting? I could just, for half a second, I could just loosen my grip. I could just let go just a little bit and find out what's here, what happens. And maybe you discover there's freedom, there's space. This is what I'm calling happiness. Notice the old kind of happiness, the conditional happiness, the happiness that society teaches us that we should be striving for, the kind of happiness that you would post on Instagram. It's not really that happy. It's kind of stressful, right? You're looking around wondering, is anybody else noticing? Are people taking note of how happy I am? Are they going to give me a good score? And the kind of happiness that I'm talking about is the kind of happiness that you don't need anybody. In fact, you don't even need to be there. Nobody needs to be there at all. And at first, it seems maybe threatening, strange, confusing. Maybe the habit is to dismiss it, to say, oh, that's not important. That can't help me. And that's why I'm suggesting just explore it, experiment repeatedly, like testing out, taking your hands off the handlebars just a little bit at a time and just notice, what do you discover? What kind of freedom, what kind of space, what kind of happiness do you discover? Because the more that you familiarize yourself with it, the more of your authentic power you connect with. Because if so, don't worry, be happy. I mean, sounds nice, right? I mean, is anybody here who's going to say that sounds like bad advice? Somebody's going to say it sounds like bad advice. But most people would probably agree. It sounds like good advice, but not sure how to do it. Right? Not sure how to do it. Well, I'll get there someday, maybe. Fingers crossed. Right? Pray for me. One day I might get there. We don't know how to do it because society has taught us the opposite of that. Society has taught us that we are not empowered to make those choices for ourselves, that we just have to wait for life to deliver that to us. And life doesn't seem to deliver it. I mean, every once in a while we get hopeful. We say, oh, it looks like it's finally coming in. My ship's about to arrive. Hallelujah. I'm gonna, I'm gonna get the money. I'm gonna get the spouse. I'm gonna get the whatever. And then I mean, I would say if you're really lucky, boy, your ship really comes in. I mean, it comes in spades, every single thing, and you realize I am miserable. Because then you're forced, maybe, hopefully, to take a look and see what's really going on. Uh, if it doesn't work out that way, then most people will keep on making excuses. They say, well, it was close, but not exactly right. Like, oh, not the right person, not enough money, not quite the right career, not the right house, not the right this. So they keep on looking for the right things, right conditions, right circumstances. But what I'm proposing is just because you've done enough of that, you've done enough of that, you've disempowered yourself enough, you're ready to actually choose your power fully, then you could just, in little tiny baby steps, just accept that power. And that power, again, the power is yours. It's you. It's not something that comes to you. It's not something you have to earn. It's not something you have to deserve. It's not something that will happen in the future. It's not something that you are being denied. It's who you are. It's what you are. You cannot separate yourself from it. It's just a matter of, are you accessing it consciously or unconsciously? And if you're accessing it unconsciously, to the degree that those unconscious patterns are disempowering, then you're using unconsciously your creative power to persuade yourself to create a very convincing illusion that you are powerless. And so if you're willing just to investigate over and over and over and over and over and over and over for as many times and as long as is necessary, what it is that I'm pointing out here, that if you just let go for an instant right now, what do you find? Is there anything missing? If there seems to be something missing, just check it out. Is there actually something missing in this instant? Or is it only after the fact, when the next thought comes, that there seems to be something missing? Because my proposal is that what you will find over and over and over every time that you sincerely investigate is that what's here is complete, whole, perfect. So don't worry, be happy. Now you know uh, how, I think, hopefully, how to not worry and be happy. So wanted to start with the downsides of worrying. Hopefully, everybody is persuaded that worrying only has negative effects. Uh, then I wanted to share with you how you can not worry and be happy, which I believe I have done. Then what are the benefits of not worrying and being happy? I mean, largely, I would say that that's something that you can really want to uh, discover directly for yourself through the practice of choosing not to worry and be happy. Because that will be far more uh, useful and meaningful than anything that anybody could say. But in case you need some motivation, I mean, there's the obvious, which is that you can end suffering. You can completely end suffering in your life. Here's an important point about that, though, is that it is a moment to moment thing. Because I think this is another mistake that a lot of people make is they think, oh, well, I did it. I did, I stopped worrying. I let go for a second. I did that 5 times, 10 times, 100 times. Did it for a couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months. I should be done now. Should be done. What? So like I should never, nothing should ever happen ever again that I find in any way unpleasant or disturbing or anything like that. I should like all of my old habits should be completely obliterated. Uh, I should just be effortlessly forever from now on totally free and never get confused ever again. And if that's not the case, if ever I find myself feeling, worried or afraid or stressed or anything, then that must mean that it didn't work. Must mean it didn't work. And what I'm proposing is moment to moment, which is another reason why this is last stop for people. Because who wants that, right? I mean, people want to just, one and done, right? They're like, I just want to set it and forget it. I don't want to have to be present. I don't want to have to be attentive. I don't want to have to choose moment to moment. I don't want to have to experience anything or feel anything. I just want to just coast. Just want to coast. You know, I'll just rest on my laurels. Is that how that goes? Rest on my laurels. I'll just, I'm like, look at me. I'm level 27 enlightened. I did it. I achieved it. I achieved the goal. Look at me, everybody. Here I am, super enlightened. Done. Finished. Crossed the finish line. Done forever. That's that's I think what most people are wanting. And so they feel kind of let down by uh anything other than that. So people will continue to choose suffering because they'll say, well, that's like, of course I could stop suffering now. I could choose that now, but that's not good enough. Instead, I'm going to choose to suffer, uh, like, like, like a child throwing a tantrum. It's not fair. It's not fair. I shouldn't have to choose. I shouldn't have to be present. I don't like it. I'm not going to bed. And it's your choice. I'm just offering some suggestions that I have found quite useful. Uh, and I invite you to test them out for yourself. And I'm doing my best to give you the uh, what can be the pitfalls along the way so that you know what other options you have so that you can choose in accordance with what you really want and what you really value. So if what you really want is freedom, if what you really want is peace, if what you really want is happiness, I it is my experience that that is always available. You can choose it now. And uh doesn't mean anything about that does not mean anything about what will happen next. What will happen next may require that you choose again. And so and there are no conditions that I have found that can negate uh one's ability to choose. So this is another uh challenge, I think, for a lot of people is they think, well, uh, if I'm feeling things, if I'm feeling things, if I have thoughts, particularly if I'm having feelings and then I'm having thoughts about those feelings, that those feelings are not good feelings. If I'm having thoughts that I don't like those feelings, if I'm having thoughts that those feelings are a problem, then that must mean it's a problem. That must mean I'm suffering. Says who? Says you, right? I mean, like says your mind, says your thoughts. And go back to then what I pointed out early on, which was that that's a kind of worry, right? Oh, I'm worried that I'm suffering. I'm worried that this is somehow having a negative impact on me. I'm worried that this is going to result in something bad. So you go back to then noticing, well, that puts you right at the center of things, right? So all of a sudden there's you and the things that you're worried are happening to you or will happen to you, impacts that are going to affect you. And that's all just more thought. And the more that you do that, the more you get yourself worked up, but for nothing. Doesn't do you any good, doesn't help you, does not improve your life, doesn't solve your problems. So with that awareness, then you can just choose. You could just choose just to let go. And then you cannot worry and be happy. So that's what I wanted to share with you. And now there's 92 more comments. Let's see what we can do here. So if see if I can, if there's questions, I'll address them. Uh yeah. Somebody says worry is a complete misuse of imagination, and I still do it often. I could imagine any scenario, and here I am imagining something shitty. Mhm. And uh notice that this is I think that this is what I was talking about earlier when once that once that starts, then there's a kind of develops a kind of momentum. So there's a compulsion to continue with it as if somehow you could resolve it by continuing it. Whereas actually the resolution comes from choosing to stop. And so at any moment, that possibility does exist. You could choose anytime just to stop. And by stop, I mean let go. Like you don't have to come up with an answer. You don't have to solve anything. You don't have to figure anything out. You could just let go. And the moment you let go, that's it. Nothing else needed. So that's I think also really useful thing to keep in mind because when that habit is activated, just the compulsion to continue is usually so strong. But if you just slow it down and just notice, I have a choice. I could choose just to find out what happens, just as an experiment. What happens if I just let go just for a second? And then notice, because probably what you'll notice is for that second, there's relief. And then the next second presents you with the next choice. What will it be? Will I continue to harm myself or will I choose to let go again? Somebody says to anticipate people's behaviors to be ready to defend me. Yes. And what it actually does, if you pay attention, is it uh, makes you, puts you in a position of, it puts you in a bad position where you are actually less able to respond. Your I, ideal position is that you are able to, you have equal access to everything, all options. Whereas worry limits your access to options. under the pretense that it's somehow going to make you uh, more able to react in a particular way. So it's a prediction. This is the kind of reaction that's going to be necessary, and I'm going to be especially prepared for that kind of reaction. But what it actually does is it takes you out of center so that you're not able to respond. You lose access to all of the options, and instead all you can do is fall. And so to choose to let go allows you just to be here with equal access to all options. So you can respond rather than react. Somebody wants to know, do I still worry? Yeah, I have I have that habit. And uh, I also have the habit of letting go. So the worry lasts less than a millisecond, at which point I'm not sure if it's really worry. But that impulse is there. Let's say that impulse. Somebody says the more I worry, the more I avoid action. Actually, yes. And making scary decisions or taking steps I would like to take but don't feel empowered to take them. Yeah, great observation. So that kind of goes hand in hand with what I was talking about a moment ago. If you the worry reduces access to options. So makes us less able to respond, less able to actually uh, show up and attend to things. Somebody says, I was worried the entire weekend about how busy today's going to be. Now I have to stop doing everything and pick up a friend that doesn't speak English from JFK. I attracted more things to worry about. Yeah, I mean, I would say there's no shortage of things to worry about. It's like as somebody who has a level of expertise with worry, I have found that uh, I in my life I have at times been able to worry about anything, things that you would probably never worry about, things that would not occur to most people to worry about. So I think that it's really not that we have things to worry about so much as because of the habit of worry, because of that tendency to worry, uh, we will find things to worry about. My point is, it's not, I would say that it's not really that you attracted things to worry about. It's more that because of that habit of worry, you'll have a tendency, therefore, to worry about whatever presents itself. Uh, so, like I'm thinking based on what you wrote that stopping doing everything and picking up a friend that doesn't speak English from JFK is a thing to worry about, according to you. Whereas for somebody else, that wouldn't be a thing to worry about. For somebody else, that might be an interesting adventure, or something to look forward to. Not that I'm proposing that that should be how you view it. I'm just pointing out that the thing itself is not a thing to worry about. It's just that because of the habit of worry, then the mind will latch on to whatever's there as a thing to worry about. Somebody was confused about my mud mud wrestling with a pig idea. Uh, this is an interesting one. Somebody says their mother chronically worried, which is her way of avoiding living her life. Her favorite way to start a phone call with me was, "I'm so worried." Yeah, so worry is definitely a way that people have. This is, I think, really an interesting, valuable point that you bring up. I think worry is a way that people bond, and uh, if we don't worry, if we refuse to worry, that can pose as a challenge in those relationships where the other person expects or demands worrying as a way of bonding. So, uh, those relationships then either need to transition into another basis, another way of bonding, or to dissolve. And sometimes, and sometimes they'll go in one way and sometimes they'll go the other. Because I mean, sometimes that was kind of all there was. If that was all there was, then it's going to dissolve because once you stop the worry, then there's nothing left. But if there's more to it than the worry, then with with if you bring the some skillfulness and uh, compassion and gentleness into the mixture, then you can find another basis for the relationship other than bonding over worry. But I'm glad you brought that up because I think that is a really common thing is to have worry as the bond. Uh, I mean, not just in familial relationships, but all kinds of relationships. I mean, this is a lot of people like to worry, get one another all worked up about their worries. Somebody says it's all beliefs, isn't it? Well, yeah, yeah. Uh, I would say that that's pretty much true. I mean, I mean, beliefs in the sense that uh, everything that is happening is fundamentally meaningless, and we assign meaning to it. And the worry is one manifestation of certain types of meaning, which uh, have to do with, uh, as I pointed out earlier, and just check it out for yourself and see if you discover this or not. I'm not proposing this as like a philosophy, but just something for you to investigate. Uh, I propose that the basis of worry is there's a core of a reference to me and then beliefs about how I am going to be harmed. And so the beliefs are all about me being harmed. And I'm using harm in a very broad sense. So it doesn't necessarily mean physically harmed, but it could be emotionally harmed, materially harmed. I mean, some kind of uh, unwanted, negative, undesirable impact. So definitely beliefs, because if you think about it, uh, there's these underlying beliefs like uh, I should be comfortable, I should experience ease, uh, I should, um, have what I want at all times. I should last forever in this form. A lot of these underlying beliefs that then are invariably going to be challenged by life's conditions and circumstances. And so then that's going to, uh, if you have those beliefs, then that will lend itself to worry, because you'll start to have these thoughts about, well, it should be this way. I should have this kind of experience, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. Somebody says ignorance is bliss. Um, I would say, not to be contrarian, but I'll be contrarian. I would say that acceptance is bliss. Because if you think about ignorance, ignorance requires, technically speaking, ignorance requires uh, an attempt to negate. Because ignorance means to ignore, right? So there's an awareness of, but then there's an attempt to negate. It's like, uh, there is no scary monster. There is no scary monster. So in order to have the thought there is no scary monster, you have to first imagine a scary monster and then try to negate it. There is no scary monster. Notice that that's different than acceptance. Acceptance is acceptance is whatever this is. It's a scary monster. It's not a scary monster. I accept. I accept this. I accept this. Uh, because keep in mind what I sometimes point out, that, and this is again just a thing to check out for yourself. Whatever it is that you are uh, thinking about, it's already after the fact. And so, like, whatever it is that the thought is a commentary about, it's already over. It's already happened. So anything other than acceptance, technically speaking, is to resist what is. It's to, like, there's something, it's a denial of what has already taken place. So it's a waste of energy. It's non-acceptance is a waste of energy. You're saying this should not be. What already has happened should not have happened. So I would say ignorance is a inefficient use of energy. Real bliss is your nature, which requires nothing, requires no energy, requires no effort. Uh, so it's just acceptance. Acceptance is bliss. Somebody says, I don't know how to be happy when my kids are suffering. So, so keep in mind that what I'm proposing as happiness is not about, as I said earlier, it's not like a manic state. It's not, let's all have big smiles and be laughing and singing. What I'm talking about, what I'm pointing to is your natural state, which is free and open. So, so your children are having whatever experience they're having. You call that suffering. maybe they would call it suffering. But I think it's more useful just to say they're having whatever experience they're having. And then the question uh, is and this connects to what I was just talking about in terms of acceptance versus resistance. So if you take the position uh, they should not be having the experience they're having, which I would say is a prerequisite for uh, what you're describing when you say you don't know how to be happy when your kids are suffering. The the prerequisite for that is they should not be having the experience they're having. So they're having whatever experience they're having, which is already the case. But then there's this layer of they should not be having that. So there's a resistance, a rejection of what is. So they are having whatever experience they're having. That's a given. That's just a fact. That's what's happening. Then there's this unnecessary layer of resistance. They should not be having that experience, which then uh, goes hand in hand with this feeling of resistance, which then is what you would say is not happy. So the question is, uh, how does that help? How does that help you? How does that help them? I don't think it does. I think it doesn't help them and it doesn't help you. So the happiness that I'm referring to would be the happiness of acceptance. Not and by acceptance, I don't mean indulgence. I don't mean going, saying, my it's not to say to flip from they shouldn't be having this experience to they should have this experience because that's just the flip side of the same polarity. But rather, this is whatever's happening is what's happening. Should and shouldn't don't apply. They're meaningless ideas. So they're having whatever experience they're having. And uh, I can be most available, most responsive, have access to most options if I just take this, if I just allow myself to be, if I allow myself to be open, if I allow myself to accept. So that I would call, that's what I'm referring to as happiness. And I think that that's available. I understand that uh, it's not what we were taught. I mean, this is definitely not what society seems to teach. Uh, Society seems to teach that if your children are having experiences that you judge to be non-optimal, then worry is the appropriate response. But worry, as it's harmful to you, and I think it's harmful to your children as well because it um, it's based on a view that they uh, are unsupported by life, incapable of responding and learning. And so I think to have a open approach, an accepting approach, offers everybody involved the greatest possibilities, which doesn't guarantee any outcomes. I mean, there's no, I don't know a way to predict what the outcomes will be. Somebody says, non-resistance has worked so well for me. I suffered for years out of ignorance, so I suggest everyone be as non-resistant as you can always. Glad to hear that. Somebody says, what's painful for me is the meeting between me feeling good and negative people energy. Yes. So, uh, so you could notice what it is that is happening in that meeting. So that meeting, is happening in you. And you could notice how that turns into, uh, worry. And and you could notice how, uh, so good feeling good, right? So you call it feeling good. So you can notice feeling good. Um, what does that consist of? So it could be that feeling good is a, uh, state which comes and goes because it depends upon certain, uh, feelings. It could also be that, um, well, I'll put it this way. There's another possibility, which is to allow for the underlying peace, freedom, and what I'm referring to as happiness, which doesn't depend upon anything. So if there's this, seeming conflict between feeling good and then negative energy from other people, then, uh, what happens if you investigate just letting go? And I think that you might find that is helpful. Somebody says, can happiness be found in anger? So, uh, you could notice before you before you, give it the label of anger, what is it? I would say that by the time, if you once you've called it anger, then, you've already you've already attached a meaning to it. And so then there's going to seem to be a conflict at that point. But if you investigate to find out what's underneath that, what's before giving it that label, then I would say there's no conflict. Then it's the same. Then it's open energy. Just notice a lot of the time we we have this, there's some experience, and then we label it. Oh, this is fear. Oh, this is anger. Oh, this is resentment. Oh, this is shame. Oh, this is guilt. And then we're trying to solve that. Or it could be the other way around too. Like, the previous person was talking about feeling good. Right? So once you've called it feeling good, same thing. So it doesn't have to be what you would consider negative or unwanted. It could even be what you consider to be desired. Once you've given it that label, then you have a relationship with it, relationship to it. I want to get rid of it. I want to keep it. That's the relationship will be I want to get rid of it or I want to keep it. If I think this is bad, I want to get rid of it. If I think that it's good, I want to keep it. So then the stress follows. How do I get rid of it? How do I keep it? Oh no, these things are threatening my ability to keep it or get rid of it. And on it goes. This spirals more and more stress because now there's more and more threats. And what I'm proposing is you can just bring it back before that, before there's a story attached to it, before you give it that meaning, and just notice what's the actuality of it. If you notice that the actuality before you give it the meaning of anger or fear or feeling good, it's actually the same as what I'm calling happiness because it's before you've collapsed it into something. So it's just open. It's pure potential. It could be anything. It's not it's not anything in particular. Could become anything. So then I would say there's no conflict there. And I think this is an important point because like just looking at some of the other couple of responses to that question that are in the chat, right? So the responses are uh, already assuming that anger is the truth, that it has solidified and that it is that. And now you've got to do something about it. But what I'm proposing is there's no reason for there's no reason why we need to cause ourselves any problems at all. There's no reason to do that. It doesn't matter. That's why, like somebody asked earlier, do I worry? I I don't believe any of it. So even though there's certain impulses, certain habits, certain tendencies, I don't believe any of it. So it the potential remains there to be anything, but I don't have the uh, compulsion to collapse it into anything in particular. That's what I'm talking about in terms of being able to be responsive instead of reactive. Reactive is this is anger. I need to do something about it. Responsive is let's just wait and see. Let's just wait and see. If there's a response that would be useful, appropriate, then that response is accessible. But let's just wait and see. There's no need to react. I don't know what it is. And I think that's really very liberating. I think it can return to you so much of your creative power that otherwise gets wasted reacting to your own creation. So just notice you create unconsciously, compulsively what you don't want, and then you react to it, right? So you create anger. You say, "Oh, I don't want that." Then you react to it. And what I'm proposing is just notice that the anger never actually came into form. It was only an idea. It was just a possibility, but it never actually came to be. So you don't have to pretend like it did. You don't have to react to it as though it did. You are free to remain happy. Somebody says picking worry picking up worry and fear. It's the habitual reaction to threats that feel existential and could cause a rug pull, such as financial or losing housing. Mhm. Uh, right. And those things could happen, right? I mean, anything could happen. So if your okayness, your happiness, your freedom, your peace is dependent upon certain conditions, it's dependent upon having housing, it's dependent upon having a certain amount of money, it's dependent upon having approval from others, acceptance from others, then uh, you'll always be finding reasons to worry because there'll always be hints that something could go wrong. You could lose it. And what I'm pointing out is that it, it's a choice. It's a choice that we make unconsciously to worry, and by becoming sufficiently conscious, we can make the choice to let go rather than to worry. So the to end the worry is not to it's not because the thoughts don't appear. It's not because those possibilities vanish. It's not because now there's absolute certainty that forever I'm going to have housing and I'm going to have the money and I'm going to have the love and approval of others. Rather, it's I no longer am making my happiness, peace, freedom dependent upon those conditions. Those conditions are free to come and go, be as they are. Which goes back to something that somebody brought up early on, which was that making the distinction between uh, purposefully allowing the worst case scenario versus worrying. So I think purposefully allowing the worst case scenario, it can be skillful means to choose peace. So if you notice that your mind wants to go there and worry about those things, and it says, well, but I could end up, like I usually use this example, toothless, homeless under the bridge, right? So it's like worst case scenario. I could be freezing to death, people pissing on me, starving, and whatever the worst case scenario is like, okay, it could happen, can't deny it. It's a possibility. If you can imagine it, it could happen. So then the skillful means would be just to accept, okay, yeah, it could happen. There's no way I'm going to be able to definitively uh, ensure that that will never happen. So why am I going to waste my energy on that? So then skillful means is just, okay, I accept that that's a possibility. Done. Don't need to worry about it. So, but that acceptance is, okay, if I'm if there I am, toothless, homeless under the bridge, freezing to death, starving to death, can I choose peace? Can I choose happiness? There's freedom. Uh, Somebody says, so what do you do when the kids are screaming at you? Uh, Swap them out for well-behaved children. Do they not offer that in your country? I'm joking. Uh, if the kids, if they're screaming at me, do they scream at me? I don't think my kids scream at me. Uh, but I think you're asking when my children are behaving in ways that I find challenging. So they do that. I just don't. I don't. I can't think of a time when they screamed at me. Can't think of one. Um, but yeah, I mean, it happens sometimes that I think the scenario for me is when I feel uh, physically tired and I really want to go to sleep, and my children are have a very different idea, and uh, so that would be a scenario that I would find challenge that I do sometimes find challenging, and I would just apply everything that I have mentioned here. So, uh, like what is there actually a problem? No, there's not a problem. There's just what's happening. It's only that's it. There's only what's happening. There's no problem in that. The problem is only in my thinking about it. So I can have thoughts about it, and those thoughts go back to what I said earlier on. They're about there would have to be me at the center of it because it's going to matter to me. I'm imagining things that are going to affect me. So then I'm projecting in the future. Oh, I'm going to be tired tomorrow. I'm not going to be well rested. I'm going to feel bad. So I can just recognize that those are just thoughts, meanings that are projected that are fundamentally uh, empty. And then I can just choose peace, just choose happiness. Because that's the one thing that's always available. I mean, I don't know if you figure out how to control children, do let me know. Uh, I haven't figured it out. I really have not figured out. I have not just children. I have not figured out how to control anyone. People seem to do what they do, regardless. Doesn't matter how nice I am, how pleasant I am, how disagreeable I am, how punishing I am, how threatening I am. None of that matters. People are going to do what they're going to do. So, I just decided I don't want to make myself miserable. So whatever they're doing, then yeah, I might perhaps somewhat foolishly, but nonetheless, it still seems a little bit sensible to me that I will make my preferences known, right? Like I could say, I want, I want to, I want to have lights out and quiet so that I can rest. And I want you to cooperate with that. And I want you to stop all of this noise and go to bed. I can make that request known, but that seems to be about it. Don't take parenting advice from me though. That's My that's my advice. Don't take parenting advice from me. Just ask my wife. She would agree. Okay, looking for the next comment here. Uh, okay, somebody says, whenever I feel the stress, I don't react. I just accept the feeling, which is always better than reacting negatively. Great. Somebody says the raw feelings are sensations felt in the body without the story. Yeah, you could even remove the bit about the body if you wanted. You could even remove the bit about felt because that suggests that there's somebody who's doing the feeling. So, you know, my point is not to criticize, but just to point out that you can like continue that inquiry. You can continue that inquiry and just discover how completely raw and alive this really is. Somebody says it's even questionable if the physical pain is actually pain or an intensity that is labeled unbearable pain. Yes, I agree with you. Somebody says or anger. Yes, exactly. That's what I was pointing out earlier, but these were earlier comments, so probably we probably clarified that by now. Uh, okay. Somebody says, I'm thinking that it became a kind of attachment to worry already. I mean, yeah, it's a habit. So if you want to change a habit, um, it's useful to acknowledge that habits have certain properties. So the nature of a habit is that uh, it is happening unconsciously and automatically. So it requires usually uh, that you're persistent in letting it go. Somebody says, I'm curious to know what reaction I should adopt when someone speaks to me in a way I don't like, as I consider it rude and I did nothing wrong. Well, I don't know what you should do, but I can offer what I have found useful. Uh, so what I have found useful is just first of all to have clarity about what I want. So uh, if you don't know what you want, then what and by want I mean what you want most, because we have different things that we want. I mean, most of us want to be right, but usually we don't want to be right most of all. So it's important to know what you want most. So in a situation like that, what do you want? Do you want uh, to change the other person? Do you want to change the circumstances? Do you want to let them know how rude they were? Do you want to be right? Are those the things that you want most, or do you want something else most? Uh, I can't know the answer for you, but I would guess, because I think it's usually true for people, that ultimately what we want most is something that's unconditional, because conditional things end up just being painful because we don't have the ability to control all of those conditions. Plus, it's so indirect that it's ends up being less fulfilling. Um, so usually, what we really want is something unconditional, Again, I don't know for sure what you want, but I would recommend that you investigate that. And assuming that what you find is that what you most want is something unconditional, if what you most want is unconditional peace or unconditional happiness, then what I would recommend is that you choose that. And you can choose that within yourself just by letting go. So the habit is to react. They're rude. I did nothing wrong. They shouldn't do that. I'm gonna show them. So that habit is there. But if that gives you what you don't want, then letting go would be the way. So letting go would allow you, even though that impulse is there, oh, how dare they? You could just know, well, what I really want is whatever it is you really want. Let's call it unconditional happiness. So then if what you really want is unconditional happiness, then you could just know I have an old habit, which is to get angry or feel hurt or whatever and want to get revenge or something like that. But actually, that's not really what I want. So instead, I can choose what I really want. If it is unconditional happiness, for example, then I could choose that now. Even though the impulse is there to do the old thing, I can choose to let go, knowing that what I really want is unconditional happiness. So I can choose that unconditional happiness now and just give yourself that brief taste of it so that you can familiarize yourself with your ability to choose that and experience that now. Because the more that you can connect to what it is that you really deeply want immediately, the more that will reinforce that new habit. Because the old way actually just led to pain. It's just prolonged pain. So when you can actually experience for yourself immediate fulfillment of what it is you most deeply want, even if it's only just for a second, that will reinforce the new way and weaken the old way. At first, though, the tendency is to go back to the old habit. But the more that you give yourself that immediate feeling or immediate access of what it is that you truly want, it will weaken the old habit and strengthen the new habit. Somebody says, is letting go relaxing? Um, well, it is in a way, uh, but it will not necessarily, it doesn't depend upon uh, total physical relaxation. So you could just notice uh, that if you are uh, if there's some thought, some idea, some memory that uh, produces some unpleasant reaction for you, you could notice if you think about that or recall that now, and then you notice the unpleasant or unwanted reaction, which is something that you're experiencing within yourself, that's where your attention is. And then you could choose just to let go for an instant. So letting go just means letting go of putting attention on that, letting go of fixating on it, letting go of trying to solve something, letting go of trying to figure it out, letting go just for an instant. Now, that letting go There is some degree of physical relaxation in that, but it might be very, 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 very subtle. So it doesn't require that your whole body becomes totally relaxed. It's enough that you're just able to let go of that particular focus or fixation for a moment. So to the person who says, I feel like I could never let go in Belgium because people talk like pigs. Um, yes. I mean, not yes, that I have no opinion about whether people in Belgium talk like pigs or not. But I hear that that's your perception of it. And uh, it's just ask yourself, what do you want more? Do you want to uh, continue to make your fulfillment, your happiness, your peace dependent on external factors? Or do you want to actually be able to choose what truly matters to you, regardless of the external conditions? If what you really want is the latter, if you really want to be able to choose what you actually truly want, regardless of what's happening externally, then the good news is that you can choose that. And it might not seem easy at first because it's not your habit. Your habit is to do the opposite. Your habit is to indulge, oh, people in Belgium talk like pigs. I can't be happy here. I can't let go here. I can't relax here. I can't be free here. I have to react. I have to be upset. I have to protect myself. I have to defend myself. I have to do all these things. That's the habit. And if you really want whatever you call that, peace, happiness, freedom, then it's just a matter of choosing that. Every time the old thoughts come up, the old habits that say, I can't let go, I have to react, I have to be upset, you have a choice. You could choose, even if it's for just half a second, to let go. I mean, are you able to let go for just half a second right now? Yeah, good. So then you've just proven to yourself that you have that ability. So you can just choose that anytime. And it's up to you what makes sense to you. I mean, if that doesn't make sense to you, if you're happy with the old way, keep doing what you've been doing. But if you're not happy with the old way, then I really do recommend that you practice this new way. And it will get easier because you'll become more skilled at it. At first, it seems hard just because it's not what you're accustomed to, but it gets easier as you become more familiar with it. Somebody says, "Can I stop creating anger?" Well, yeah, definitely. Uh, Based on what I was saying earlier, just notice that it's a choice. So you are choosing to believe that what you're choosing to believe that you're creating anger. But if you really investigate it, you'll see that it's never actually happened. It's only just a thought. And it's a thought that you've practiced so many times that it seems like the truth. But it's nothing has ever come into uh nothing's ever actually been created. So the moment that you challenge that, the moment that you let go, instantly what's revealed is the freedom, the openness that's already here, that's always been here. So that anger was never created. When when you tell yourself, oh, I've created this anger. Oh, this anger is bad. Oh, I have to get rid of this anger. Oh, when will I stop creating the anger? Then you're reinforcing that whole thing because you assume that the anger was created. But instead, you can just investigate that and notice it was never created. It's always remained just this openness. If as soon as you have a thought and you start objecting to that, then you're just again assuming that the anger was created, but it's just a thought. So you can always investigate that and notice right now, as you let go right now, what happens to the anger? There's no anger. There's only just whatever is, but it's not what you're telling yourself it is. Somebody says, I feel the rapid resolution method has really helped with accepting the possibility of being homeless, toothless, and under the bridge, and being able to still choose peace and happiness during such circumstances would be so powerful and liberating. Yeah. Okay, a long thread about pasta here, which I'm not gonna chime in on the pasta thread. Trying to control children is the same as trying to control my thoughts. Impossible. Yeah, glad to know I'm not the only one. Uh, how to go through paranoia? Um, well, I wouldn't recommend going through paranoia. I would recommend uh, going before paranoia. So question all of the thoughts, all of the assumptions, all of the beliefs. Just let go. The paranoia is it's a particular form of worry, so it shares the same kinds of things that I talked about earlier. There's a thought of you at the center of it, uh, and then there's projections of what bad things, undesirable things are going to happen to you or could happen to you. Uh, and you can just make the choice to stay before that. So uh, it's just letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go for as long as it takes. Sometimes people, again, it goes back to what I was talking about earlier. People want to get to a point where they can coast. If like they've done the work, they put in the work, and now they're going to coast. And if you have that expectation, then you might end up being disappointed. But if instead, see, if you notice that you can choose peace and freedom now, just in this instant, then you know you have the answer. You have the solution. Just choose freedom. Just choose peace. Choose it now. And then choose it now. And then choose it now. And then choose it now. And then, but people get tripped up because they object. They say, but when will I get to the point when I can just coast, when I don't have to choose any longer? I don't know. But what I do know is that you can choose peace now. So as long as it takes, even if it's forever, that's always available. And this is if you don't if that doesn't seem available to you, let me know. But as long as that as long as that you know that that's available to you, then it might not be the answer that you're looking for, but it is a viable answer. So for the person who was talking about the way the Belgian people speak, uh, they say, "I want peace, love, and joy. I don't want to show them, but I want to feel sure they won't annoy me like this anymore to get peace." Mhm. Yeah, so that's so great. So you have clarity about what you want, and you want peace, love, and joy. And so peace, love, and joy are available to you now, and then you can note it, and they're available within you. So the only obstacles to that are also within you, and you have another thought that says, I want to feel sure they won't annoy me like this anymore. So uh, notice that that could present as an obstacle if you believe that there's something that they need to do or something that needs to change outside of you in order for that to be true. But if you investigate it and you notice that the only thing that's necessary in this is just for you to choose within yourself what it is that you really want now, that peace, love, and joy, then you can just choose that. So if you have the thought, I want to feel sure that they won't annoy me like this anymore, then you could just notice, well, you know, what power do they have to annoy me? They don't. I can annoy myself by choosing annoyance, resistance. Instead, what I want is peace. So I choose peace now. Just choose peace because that's what you want. So that's the power of the clarity. When you know what you want, then you can just choose that. All right. We've wrapped up. Thank you to all of you. Blessings to you all. For those who will watch this on YouTube, I'll just make the mention that if you made it this far and you're not signed up on my mailing list, then I think you would find that you would enjoy signing up for my mailing list. I don't know if you would enjoy the experience itself of signing up, but I think you would enjoy the experience of being a member of my mailing list. I send out emails daily, which I think are valuable reminders. So you can do that by going to my website. I'll give the link uh, in the description on YouTube. That's it for today. Blessings to you all. Take care. Bye for now.